There's strong language from the start of The Princess and the Gangster.
"40 years ago, two men were stood in the dock here accused of one of Tyneside's most infamous killings. Dennis Stafford and Michael Lavaglio were found guilty of the killing of Angus Sibbott in what became known as the one-armed bandit murder. They haven't met since they left prison, until now. Inside Out was there to witness one of the strangest reunions. Few criminal cases strike the same chord as the one-armed bandit murder. The gangland hit on Angus Sibbott, a slot machine collector whose bullet-riddled body was found dumped in South Hetton in County Durham.
About 5 o'clock this morning, the body of a man was found in the rear of a Jaguar Mach 10 motor car, and death was probably due to gunshot wounds.
For decades, every minute detail of the case has been pored over. It inspired the Michael Caine classic Get Carter and has become a symbol of 60s Tyneside when clubland was king and gangsters lined their pockets. The two men convicted of the murder of Angus Sibbott have now served life sentences. They've campaigned to prove their innocence for the last 40 years, but never together.
I know in my own heart and soul that I am innocent and that I had nothing to do with this whatsoever.
I've never claimed to be an angel. This I haven't been, but neither do I go around shooting people.
In a final throw of the dice, Dennis Stafford and Michael Lavaglio, both now in their 70s, have agreed to a meeting. All previous attempts at reconciliation were shunned by Lavaglio.
I understand where he was coming from. If it wasn't for my past, he would never have been convicted. As I said, you wouldn't take him on a pillow fight, let alone to kill his best friend.
The two men are chalk and cheese. Stafford has never concealed his criminal past. Having grown up alongside the Crays in London's East End, he was a tabloid celebrity, the playboy gangster. Prior to his arrest, Lavaglio's record was unblemished. He's a devout Catholic and now works for a charity for people with disabilities.
I didn't know of any Dennis's previous convictions prior to the horrible murder of sorry. Every time I think of it, it's horrible murder of Angus Sibbott. And I know that Dennis is innocent, and he knows that I am, because we were both together that night.
He believes the police were only after Stafford, and he claims he was offered a deal, but he'd have to lie.
He said it's quite easy for you to say that he left you for about half an hour or an hour. He said, and we'll just ask for you for a statement and you'll go home. And I said, no. I said, I believed in British justice. And he said, right, I'm going to charge you. And I was charged with murder.
So why now, after years of campaigning on his own, is Lavaglio joining forces with Stafford?
This is both of us our last chance in this country to try and get justice, to try and get a judge to admit there has been a miscarriage of justice.
When they were last together, they were young men in the dock. Now they're face to face in a London restaurant.
A long time?
34 years.
Is it really?
I know that in the past you've said that you've felt sorry for me because if it hadn't have been for you and your past record, we would never have been charged.
That's true.
Don't feel sorry.
Well,
I know you didn't commit murder.
Yeah, well, I know and you know, but the thing is, if you weren't with me that night, or I wasn't with you that night, you would never have been convicted.
No, but I don't hold any animosity.
No, I never ever thought you did.
No, I never have.
Right.
Because nothing would make me say that you had left me for an hour, because that's what the police wanted me to say.
I know that.
And I couldn't live with that.
We always were friends. It's just his legal side of the business said he must disassociate himself if he wants to prove his innocence. We're in it together.
We both have different ways of life. He likes to be known as a fun-loving criminal, and I take care of people with severe disabilities. So it's a totally separate lifestyle that I have.
You say a colleague, you mean not a friend, in other words?
An acquaintance.
How much do you think you've lost from that guilty verdict back then?
Everything. Well, the 12 years of my life, I'm still having to report probation after 40 years.
Do you think Michael's suffered more than you, though?
He's lost more. I mean, you know, look at the work he's done since he's come out, and charities and that. What would he have done if he hadn't gone to prison?
I was just about to get married in 1966, so I have no real family. My parents are both dead. The case killed my father.
The both of you seem poles apart, but united in your fight for innocence. Do you see it like that?
Yeah, we're different people. I mean, he's such a nice, gentle person. I'm just me. You like me or dislike me, it doesn't matter. I take it all. But he's not. He's just soft and a lovely person.
You don't think associating with a known criminal in your appeal could actually harm yours?
No, because it's our last chance in this country to obtain justice. I only hope that in our case, British justice will realise that we are innocent and proclaim it.
Realistically, can you ever see the day when you'll be exonerated?
No.
Despite their pessimism, the pair keep up a united front for the High Court on Wednesday. Their case is once again in the spotlight.
He tells the CCRC that no fingerprints were found in the car at all. And
For Lavaglio, it's an opportunity to publicise the inconsistencies in the case against them. Fingerprint evidence that the original trial jury never got to see.
Car doors which had to be opened.
And for Stafford, as ever a man with an eye for an opportunity, it's a chance to plug his new book. Despite their newfound togetherness, the pair have very different expectations of the court appearance.
But if we get justice, a fair hearing. No, but if we get a fair hearing, we do have a chance.
Stick 'em up, cause it's the fun loving criminal. Stick 'em up, cause it's the fun.
Their faces say it all. The hearing hasn't gone well.
We've got to come back to the court tomorrow at 10 o'clock. But I honestly feel they're looking for some way of saying that we are not going to reopen this case.
The next step is we wait for the verdict tomorrow and then off to Europe if it's negative.
It seems like another setback, and indeed, yesterday their application was turned down. So was it all worth it? Well, these two very different men are now united and undeterred as they exhaust the legal process towards one simple.
All I'm asking is a rehearing of the evidence that the jury should have heard.
I am now released on life licence to serve my sentence in society, and I don't deserve to die as a legally convicted murderer.
100 years ago this month, a Geordie set off on an epic journey that was to change the face of motoring forever. Sally Bozeman, better known as Radio 2's Sally Traffic, pays tribute to a hero who should be immortalised everywhere.